Okay, greetings, colleagues. Thank you so much, Erin, for giving me this time and welcome everyone. I know for some of our colleagues it's early in the morning, others it's afternoon, others it's late in the evening, but would like to appreciate you coming to this important session, which is focusing on youth and mind action. And as you understand that this is a very, very important webinar with the support of Minds Action Canada, so that we can have time to discuss and also hear from experts who are in the field, how young people are faring, and also how young people within this space can be supported to fully also, contribute towards a mind-free world. And we can also understand that a lot is happening, across the world with some countries, pulling out of the treaty. And it's our duty, as young people to make sure that, we play our part to safeguard, lives and also to contribute. So my name is Tanaka Ndongera from Zimbabwe. I will be the moderator of today's session. And I'm happy that we have a great panel of speakers. And welcome to everyone who's joining. Kindly, introduce yourself through the chat box so that we get to know where you're joining from and who are you and which organization you do represent. So without wasting much of the time, I think we can kickstart, so that we can also finish in time as planned. So, this is a very, very critical, webinar for us. And we need to appreciate Minds Action Canada, obviously, for creating this platform where as Mind Action Fellows and other young professionals in different fields, we are also playing our part, to make sure that, we push towards a mind-free world. And, the energy, the innovation of young people is much needed in this space. And also we need to appreciate that young people do not only represent, the future, but they also represent the present. So this is a critical webinar, and also let's take the most from it so that at the end of the day, we are able, to see the value of this webinar going forward. So without wasting much of the time now, I will introduce, our panelists. I will read their profiles, their bios, which they shared with me, so that you understand who is in the room, so that you can also have an appreciation of where they come from, what they are doing, and what they represent. So I will start with the first, panelist, who is none other than, Erin. So, so Erin Hunt is the executive director of Minds Action Canada, and she's been doing public education on the Ottawa Treaty, banning landmines since 2003, and working in humanitarian disarmament in various capacities since 2006. And Erin's areas of expertise include the humanitarian impact on indiscriminate weapons, victim assistance, gender in disarmament, and Canadian disarmament policy. She also spent 2 years as a senior researcher on casualties and victim assistance from the Landmine and Cluster Munition Monitor. And Erin has led youth engagement programming in Canada, Uganda, and internationally, creating space for young people to participate in decision making at all levels of governance. So you can say that the panel is very rich. So this is the profile of Erin. And also go to the next, which is Noctenda Masianise, who was the head of donor management and partnerships at Hello Trust in Zimbabwe. So the Hello Trust Donor Management Partnerships Department, Zimbabwe, is led by Noku. She is responsible for monitoring donor contracts, identifying and maintaining key partnerships. And prior to joining Hello in 2020, she worked as a child protection officer for Children's Rights Organization. She holds a BA in social work from the University of Cape Town, South Africa, and a Master of Science in Politics and International Relations from the University of Zimbabwe. So it's a pleasure to have you, Noku, and we look forward, to hear from you. And the third panelist, the third speaker is Evelyn, who is a Mine Action Fellow and also from DESAM in Brazil. She's a master student in international relations at the Federal University of Latin American Integration, UNILA. Also a bachelor student in international relations and integration at UNILA. She's also an administration technician, researcher at the Center for Studies and Research in International Law at NEPEDU, a volunteer and researcher at IRAS, Center for Gender Studies, a volunteer and protocol director at Rotaract FOS, a club sponsored by Rotary International, and also volunteer and president at DESAM, Brazilian Action for Humanitarian Disarmament, member of the Stop Killer Robots Youth Network, and fellow within Mine Action Fellows Program. So these are the profiles of our three speakers. And you can see that today, the panel is rich and, we have women in the house, who are going to share wisdom with us. So it's a pleasure to hear from you. So without further ado and without wasting time, I will hand it over to Erin to take us through what you've prepared for us. And those who are just joining us, you can introduce yourselves in the chat box so that we know where you're coming from and what you do, what you represent. Over to you, Erin.
Thanks, Tanaka. Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be joining you from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen people, which is currently known as Victoria, Canada. As the very kind introduction told you, I'm the executive director at Mines Action Canada. But what you might not have noticed is that I'm also a former youth campaigner myself. So I got my start through Mines Action Canada's youth programming, both here in Canada and internationally. So I've managed to participate in almost every youth program that MAC offers over the years. And I've also worked and managed the youth programs for a really long time. I've been asked to talk a little bit about Mac's youth programming and because of my role on the governance board of the International Campaign to Ban Landmines and the Cluster Munition Coalition, I'll also touch a bit on governance. But I'll just start with a quick note that we do need younger voices in campaign governance. Youth representation on the governance board is lower than it has been in the past. And I think that's something the governance board is going to be working on in the next little bit. So to give you a brief overview of our youth programs, MAC often says that we're ordinary people and we have an extraordinary impact. And I think that is part of the reason we do a lot of youth work is because we know that young people are the ones that are actually doing the work on the ground. So you've heard a reference already to our Mine Action Fellows program, and this is our global youth program. It has about 150 young people between the ages of 18 and 30 who are in the program right now. It is mostly women because when we look around the disarmament meeting room at the UN, those rooms are mostly men. And we do a fun thing where we keep the ratio flipped. So folks track who goes to these meetings. And right now it's mostly about 30% women. So the youth program is about 30% men. And as far as I can tell, that's very helpful for everybody involved. Our Mine Action Fellows program was sort of built out of my experience going through the youth programs and sort of what we've been seeing internationally. And it's really based on the recognition that UN structures and multilateralism are not designed for youth. Diplomacy was created by like elite men for other elite men, and the rest of us are just sort of an afterthought. But we also know that youth have expertise from the ground. The Mine Action Fellows program really aims to provide skills and insights to youth to allow them to share their expertise and their experience with the decision makers, mostly internationally, but also nationally. So we have an online network, which includes monthly emails that have capacity building, whether it's a skill or information about mine action or other disarmament topics. There's also like a pen pal program to match peers working in similar fields. We have a group chat that on WhatsApp that's quite active. Occasionally, we have small grants to allow the fellows to do small projects in their own communities to implement the Ottawa Treaty banning landmines and the Convention on Cluster Munitions. And the thing that people notice the most probably is our Mine Action Fellows forums that happen alongside diplomatic meetings. And if you remember, I said that, we recognize that the UN isn't designed for youth. You have to figure out how to be able to work in those structures. So the Mine Action Fellows forums are a combination between participating like any normal civil society delegate in a diplomatic meeting and specific training sessions, right down to how do you use the headset to get the translation? Because that's something you have to just figure out on your own most of the time and hope you don't push the button that says, I would like to speak. But we also have some other parts of our youth program that I'll just let you know about briefly. We have internships for Canadians, mostly Canadian students, based through a number of universities here. Some of these internships are just working with Jillian, my colleague, and I, and others are international internships where people get placed with our partners from the ICBL, CMC, and other humanitarian disarmament campaigns to work for a semester of their university degree. And then a newer addition to our youth program are the Youth and Disarmament Seminars. Because what we realized was for the Mine Action Fellows forums, we had a little problem with people not being able to get visas into countries where these meetings were. The visa regime is the bane of anyone's existence. So we've created youth and disarmament seminars that cover the Ottawa Treaty, the Convention on Cluster Munitions, and the Political Declaration on Explosive Weapons. And we're taking these seminars into specific regions to sort of get around the visa restrictions. So sometimes we can't bring the youth to the disarmament meeting, but we can bring the disarmament information to youth. And part of the reason that this is so important is because youth really do provide key perspectives to the decision makers. I mean, sometimes the decision makers are youth themselves, but we've noticed that there's definitely like a Geneva bubble internationally and capital bubbles nationally, where everyone gets really tied into these sort of small ideas, all about the commas and the specific wording of things, and they get a little detached from the reality on the ground. And I think one of the biggest strengths of bringing youth into these structures is that they come in with ground experience and can really provide the reality of landmines or cluster munitions, and that really changes the conversation. And I think one thing that's often underestimated is the leadership that young people are currently already exhibiting, and just need to make sure that there's room for them in the different levels. So we've had some successes. Last year, the Mine Action Fellows were quite involved in the ICBL CMC Strategic Plan Review. And one of my biggest, I guess, policy successes for the past year was the Mine Action Fellows submission to the Mine Ban Treaty Review Conference resulted in states a new sort of action item in the Siem Reap Action Plan where states are obligated to ensure that victim assistance databases take into consideration data privacy, which is something that the older diplomats probably don't even understand. But I know that youth are really aware of their digital footprint and the threats to privacy that having too much data online can be. And then a couple sort of thoughts on the role of youth. Everyone always talks about youth and social media. And like, yeah, I'd never make anyone do any TikTok dances, but one of the really important things that I think youth can be using that platform for is demystifying processes and concepts, showing behind the scenes of how things work, why these topics are important. What does it mean to go to the UN? I mean, the Mine Action Fellows who were at this Convention on Cluster Munitions meeting just few weeks ago did a great job of showing like what they do every day, and they tolerated my filming a what's in my bag for the UN type video just to show like humanize these processes. I did also get asked sort of about the role of youth in campaign governance. And I will just sort of remind people that if this is an area that you want to get involved in, sometimes it's fun strategic policy discussions, but most of the time it's really boring things. Excuse me, it is quite early here. So you need to be very, like, so build up your skills in human resources, finance, and administrative processes, and that will make you like an indispensable member of governance bodies. I don't think anyone ever wants to hear that advice of learn HR best practices, but I would strongly recommend that going in there. And I guess I'll just wrap up sort of on a success story here. I already did mention the Mine Action Fellows input into the review conference with the privacy provisions, but also like really strong inputs onto environment and gender mainstreaming, which were really, really helpful. And then I think one of the things that the biggest success of Max Youth Programming has been the role that the youth who graduate from it go on to have. Throughout the humanitarian disarmament sector, there are youth campaigners who graduated from our programming, leading organizations. I see a few of them are on this call actually. They're mentoring current youth, which is super fun. So I get to see the people that are learning from my friends from when I was a youth campaigner. Yeah, on Wednesday, I ran into a former MAC youth campaigner who is now an interpreter at the United Nations, using her knowledge of the topic to correctly terminate a whole bunch of disarmament jargon in between English and Arabic. And some of the fellows and other youth campaigners we've had are applying their skills to other fields. And it's just been wonderful to sort of watch how they grow. I'm going over time, but I was also instructed to give 3 ways young people can get involved in advocacy beyond a social media post. So one is write your parliamentarians, urging for universalization of the treaty and implementation of the treaty, especially with the withdrawals that Tanaka mentioned. A lot of stuff in this area is in English. Maybe it'll be in French and Spanish. So taking that information into your local language, so folks in your country can learn more, is really important. And use your individual talents and interests. I've seen sports tournaments for awareness raising or fundraising. I've seen arts that share messaging. I love a good craft. If you can craft messaging or fundraising into your projects, writing like a person. And right now, the biggest priority is probably to make sure that your government comes to this meeting of states parties in December with really strong support for the Ottawa Treaty because of the withdrawals. So I have gone over time by 2 minutes, and I apologize, and I will stop talking and mute myself. Thank you, Tanaka.
Thank you so much, Erin. That was quite elaborate, and I can attest that this is quite amazing to learn of your journey. Having been where we are at some point, and also stepping up, with your role with the ICBL and what Minds Action Canada has actually been doing, and also giving hints and tips of how young people also step up and do the due diligence to actually, do get the work done, and also, maximizing on our talents in our different corners, so that at the end of the day, we're also playing our part. So this is quite amazing, and I'm sure people are following very keenly. So at this point in time, without wasting time, I will bring on Noku to share what you've prepared for us today. Over to you, Noku.
Right. Thanks, Tanaka, and thank you, Erin. I'll share my screen. Okay. Please let me know if you can see it. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, good.
All right, thank you. So yeah, as Tanaka has already introduced, I'll introduce myself again because that's just the natural way of starting a presentation, right? So my name is Nokutenda Masianise. I am the head of donor management and partnerships for the Halo Trust Zimbabwe, and yeah, I'll be sharing a little bit about what the organization has been doing in regards to empowering youth in mine action. This is going to be very brief because Tanaka did give us strict timelines, but do feel free to reach out to us directly or through Tanaka if you would like to find out more about what we do. So I'll just start off by just letting you know where we work. So in Zimbabwe, Halo Trust is located on the northeast part of the country. So we are clearing in a province called Mashonaland Central Province. We also do have other operators, NPA and MAG. I see some of our MAG colleagues on the call, so that's good. And then unfortunately, we had an organization that had to close due to funding constraints. And then just to get into the boring statistics that might make sense to some and bore others. But basically, to date, as of the end of September, we've destroyed just over 240,000 AP mines, and we've released just under 20 million square meters of land. What this means is that we've destroyed a lot of landmines that equate to about 20% of the landmines that are destroyed globally. These are landmines that have been destroyed by the Halo Trust Zimbabwe. And then when we look down here on the chart, areas remaining, when you look at those stats, what they basically mean in layman's term is we've destroyed, we have cleared over 95% of the contamination, and we are really close to the end with just about 5% of land contamination remaining. Initially, the national strategic goal was to have all landmines cleared by 2025, but as we all know, due to funding constraints, this has been pushed to 2030. But we're really close to the end, and we hope and trust that we'll be able to achieve this. And then life as a young professional. So I'm currently 30. In Zimbabwe, that is right in the middle of youth because our youth is up to 35, apparently. And this has been, being part of this field, supporting field operations has been very rewarding. Prior, as Tanaka read in my bio, I used to be in social welfare, where, for instance, we would have big days where we would remove a child from the streets, and then weeks later they were back in the street, and it was very demotivating. But then with landmine clearance, once you destroy a landmine, it's gone forever, and its communities being made safe for a lifetime. So for me, this excites me. It's tangible impact that's there to stay forever. So that's what's super exciting for me as a 30-year-old working in Mine Action. And then just to speak more about Halo Zimbabwe's youth recruitment and development. So one of the unique aspects about how we recruit is that Halo focuses on hiring talent based on capability over formal credentials. So you find that individuals don't have to have a high school diploma to be able to be a D minor. This then empowers them, because you'll find, as I'll speak just now in the presentation, is that when we hire them, we don't just say, oh, you don't have your high school diploma and leave you there. Whilst you're working, we then have teachers, ICT teachers, English teachers, and we have all these grants that then empower you in order to further your education. So by the time you're done with Halo, your career prospects have severely broadened. So that is something that Halo Zimbabwe is really, really good at. And you'll find, if you look at our statistics right now, it might not seem like we have a lot of youth, but that is because Halo has a high retention. It has high retention. So you find that most of the individuals, I'd say over 80%, started working for Halo in their 20s. And Halo has been operating for over 12 years. Again, this I'm speaking for Halo Zimbabwe. So yeah, that is part of our philosophy here. And then something that Halo Zimbabwe is also really good at is empowering women. So you find that we have various initiators and interventions that support women. Some of them include having housing for nursing moms, because we found that obviously, like, it's very difficult for young moms especially to go back to work after having their baby. So we've made this transition easier by having housing for them that is close to our field camps, where they can work and take care of their babies without having to think of all the logistics of having their baby far from home. So those are some of the things that Halo Zimbabwe is doing to empower women and just ensure that work is easier for them. And then this is what I spoke about when it comes to staff and community development. So I think, again, another unique aspect is that our staff are the community. So whatever it is that we do for the staff, we are essentially also doing for the community. So I won't dwell much on this because I've already mentioned it. Again, there are also other projects that we do, WASH initiatives and partnerships with organizations such as the UN and other partners. And then when it comes to innovation and technology, one of the cool things is our former deputy program manager, at just 30 like myself, introduced the use of the micro excavator. So basically this machinery excavates mines instead of a human being actually excavating them. So this actually contributed to efficiency and safety in our operations. And again, the exciting part of it, this was a young woman who introduced this concept. And then just getting into career realities, I think one of the challenges in the field is that it is a high risk job. I mean, you're working with explosives. There's no way it's going to be low risk. But the beauty of it, obviously, is that we have strong SOPs in place, and you find that accidents are very, very minimal. And then another challenge is, because of the nature of the work and where we work, because they're very remote, people are forced to be away from home, only being at home for let's say maybe a week out of a month, which can be difficult for some. But yeah, it requires adaptability. And also our camps are just made, we try to foster a homey environment in our camps so that you don't really feel it too much, but it can be a challenge for some. And then for skills, I think honestly, and advice for aspiring professionals, Erin really said it well. Well, humanitarian mine action embraces everyone. You find that we've got professions from social workers to guys in IT, we've got agronomists, we've got everyone. So really everyone and anyone who's interested can really take part in just making sure we have a landmine free world. So yeah, that's it. Again, if you'd like more information, please do feel free to reach out to us directly or through Tanaka. And yeah, thank you, Tanaka. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Noku. That was quite amazing. To hear from the youthful voice in the house. So it's a pleasure to hear from what you're doing with Hello Trust in Zimbabwe and the work which has been done, which is quite amazing to learn of this massive work and also how young people can be inspired, to also join this field and what needs to be done. And I can also say if you have specific questions, you can also put them in the chat box so that as we also invite the next speaker, Noku might be checking those questions as well as for Erin, so that when we get to the question and answer, they can be already having some of the answers. So thank you so much, Noku. Without further ado, I'll invite Evelyn, who is our last speaker, so that she can share what she has prepared for us, and then we can go to the next segment of this session. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you. Hello, good morning, everyone from Brazil here. Thank you, Tanaka, Erin, and Noku for the presentation. Giovanna is helping me today and will share the screen for me. My internet is a bit unstable, sorry for that, but I will try to answer the questionnaire that Tanaka provided us, which is basically about my experience as a young professional, like in 10 minutes. So let's do it. So let's start from the beginning. And I would like to say that it's an immense pleasure to be here with you today, representing not only Brazil, but also young Latin American activists. I'd like to start like saying a thousand thank you for inviting me. Thank you for organizing this webinar and saying that I'm very happy that we are debating the importance of young people in disarmament issues. Can you pass, please? Jill, thank you. So let's start from the beginning. Who am I, right? My name is Evelyn Gizi. As you can see from Tanaka's short bio, I am from the field of international relations, but since before I studied for my undergrad and master's degree, I've had the dream of trying to make the world like a better place to live in. And during college, I met professor and activist Gustavo Vieira, who is present here today, who has worked for over like 20 years in the field of humanitarian disarmament and international humanitarian law. And I fell in love with this subject and also his project. Can you pass, please, G? So when the COVID pandemic passed and we returned to face-to-face activities, Gustavo and I decided to start up again with Disarme, the organization I'm representing today. And with that, I began to deepen my research and joined the Minds Action Fellows. That same year, Gustavo offered a course on humanitarian disarmament and invited Erin to give a lecture. And it was there that I met Erin and also had the chance to take part in my first international trip as an activist, so the 21st meeting of states parts on landmines. So this opportunity was like a watershed for me. It meant a lot, completely changed like the vision that I had and made me grow like professionally, academically, and personally. It was there that I realized that I, as a young person, could make like a real impact on the world. And it was on this trip that I met other activists for the first time. I was able to talk to and get to know like most of them. And it was incredible to realize that we were fighting for the same causes. In that experience, I realized that I, a young woman from the global south, studying security and disarmament, was not alone. We were together, and we had the opportunity like to improve a lot about different skills. We learned how to do advocacy, how to talk to diplomats and parliamentaries, how to make pressure on governments for changing things. So we learned a lot about the impacts also of landmines in different contexts. And it was also an experience that showed us that together we are as strong as the states that were present in that moment. Can you pass, please? So it was in that moment that I realized that we needed to strengthen and expand the Brazilian network against this type of weapon and other indiscriminate weapons. So I can totally say that the fellowship to go to this conference was extremely important for us to return with disarms activities. And it was this experience that made me feel that I could be a young activist. I began to study the impacts of other weapons and other opportunities show it up for me, as you can see in the pictures. So when I returned from Geneva, this first experience that I had, new volunteers were interested in the issue, and we started planning disarmament activities, which I'm going to present a little now. I'm going to try to be a bit fast. So what is Disarm, right? Disarm is the Brazilian Action for Humanitarian Disarmament, an independent, non-profit, non-governmental organization based in Foz do Iguaçu, the south of Brazil. And our aim is to promote and advance the humanitarian disarmament agenda in Brazil and around the world, especially in Portuguese-speaking countries in Latin America. And it's important to highlight that we are a group mostly of young people, and some of them are here today, so thank you for that too. Can you pass, please? We focus on 5 types of weapons, so landmines, cluster munition, nuclear weapons, autonomous weapon systems, and international arms trade. Yes, please. But what do we do in practice? And that I will try to pass through some activities. You can pass, please, G. So, well, we focus on advocacy. You can see in the pictures, we work with government bodies to influence Brazilian foreign policy by monitoring compliance with international obligations in the field of humanitarian disarmament and also arms control. We press the construction of policies based on the defense of peace and the prevalence of human rights. Pass, please. We focus on leadership training for young humanitarian disarmament activists, which I believe, and we as an NGO believe that is the most important work we do, because investing in young people is the best thing any organization can do. When we educate, we raise, we awareness and create opportunities. We are not just like supporting individuals, but we are shaping the future of humanitarian disarmament itself. Pass, please. In the same vein, we are also trying to raise awareness among young people through art. So sorry, can you return one, please? Yes, in the Cine Disarme, please. So every month we organize Cine Disarme. That is a project to watch and debate audiovisual productions about the humanitarian impact of weapons. And also, now you can pass. Now, also we encourage academic production. So we believe that it's through research and study that we can really change opinions and work to save lives. So that's why we hold monthly study groups on different themes. Our last meeting was last Saturday and dealt with issue of humanitarian disarmament and gender perspectives. Pass, please. And of course, we also take to the streets. We carry out activism seeking to raise awareness, empower, and mobilize civil society. Pass, please. And also talking about going to the streets, the middle picture here is a project called Educating for International Relations that was carried out for high school classes here in our city, Foz do Iguaçu. And this project was only possible with a small grant from Minds Action. So we are very grateful, and I would like to have this moment to express our gratefulness. Thank you again for having the opportunity to talk to teenagers and address the topics of landmines and cluster munition. Pass. And at last but not least, participation in international events, which for us young people is part of fulfilling dreams, desires, experiences. And in practice, that means that to be an activist, like we feel what is to be an activist and realize that the voice of organized civil society can be heard. So in the pictures, you can see other Action Fellows. We have Giovanna here, Maria Clara, and also Julia. So that was really important events. Can you pass, please? These are some other partnerships and coalitions that Desarm is currently part of. Our network has grown after we had these international opportunities, so it is really great to be in contact with people who believe in the same things that we do. And then, finally, you can pass, please, G. Finally, I would like to emphasize the importance of young people in the process and debates of humanitarian disarmament. So, too often we see that young people are left out of these discussions, as Erin said before, or we are included only symbolically, so without real opportunities to create change. And I want to highlight a research, a paper that Giovanna, a member of Zarmi, is writing that argues the opposite, that young people bring a long-term vision. So one vision that is not limited by electoral cycles, but shaped by the decades we will still live and by the consequence we will face. So those consequences might be landmines that remain active for 50 years, toxic waste from ammunition, or modernized nuclear arsenals that will still threaten future generations. So we youth, we bring new narratives to the international debate, narratives rooted in climate justice, gender equality, human rights, and other fields. And as young people, we can contribute in many ways. Through social media, we can make like complex issues accessible and connect humanitarian disarmament to people's lives. We can also build some bridges between communities and decision makers, organize local actions, link disarmament to these issues like climate, gender, humanitarian rights. And above all, we keep hope alive and we can try to show like that a safer and more human world is possible. So what the Minds Action Fellows program provides us, and then I will finish, from this experience through conference, workshops, and trainings on how to lobby state delegations, draft statements, navigate like multilateral diplomacy, it's truly like transformative. It shows not only what we can do, but also how essential our participation is. So one piece of advice I would give to the young people thinking about joining the Minds Action fellowships or the Minds Action or other organization is give your best, study, engage, and get involved in youth and activist movements. Always stay active, and it is staying active that the change begins. So that's it. And for finish, my career plans after the opportunity that was offered by Minds Action, this opportunity completely shaped my life and my view right now. So my dream is to continue be an activist, to keep fighting for a world free of weapons, a safer world where like children can play without fear, that teenagers can study with hope of a better world, and also that women and the elderly can live with dignity and peace. So that's my dream, and I believe that is one of the dreams that everyone here, right? Can you pass, G, please? Here you can follow us on social media. Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm totally open to questions, but also you can go to our social media and talk to us, Desarme. So thank you a lot, guys.
Amazing, amazing. That's quite awesome. You know, your story as a young person, and it's quite, you know, wonderful to hear of the great work which you're doing in Brazil. And I would like to appreciate Professor Gustavo, who is in the meeting, who has supported you in this journey. You know, it's always amazing to appreciate and also to have people who hold your hand in this journey. And it's inspiring, of course, to hear what you've done in Brazil, and also sharing with us, you know, the importance of young people who then contribute in influencing these meetings, and also the work which you're doing, you know, in Brazil to support Brazil in its foreign policy within this space. This is quite amazing, and I'm sure this template can also be adopted by other young people across the world to also learn from the work which you're doing in Brazil and beyond. So at this point in time, we'll open it up for some questions, very few burning questions. If you have any burning questions which are directed to all of the panelists or to specific speakers, you can show by raising your hand. I'm sure, Gillian, you can help to identify who is raising their hand, and they can ask their questions.
Hi, everyone. I see that Walu has his hand up, so please go ahead, Walu, and ask your question to our wonderful speakers. We actually can't hear you. Sorry.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Apologies. My name is Walusungu Mtonga. I'm joining in from Zambia. I'm relatively new to the Mine Action Fellowship Program, recently joined. First of all, I'd like to thank our three speakers for those wonderful insights. It's really inspiring to see the great work that young people are doing all around the world. My question is to Erin. One of the biggest challenges that young people have when it comes to campaigning is issues of finances, funding, and the like. So I would like to know if Mark actually provides or sort of has webinars on fundraising, grant writing to sort of build skills in young people to help with fundraising. Additionally, does Mark have sort of a grant program where young campaigners can request for funds provided they have a project and the like? So yeah, that's my question pretty much. Thank you.
Do you just want me to go ahead, Tanaka? Okay. Yeah, I just realized as you were asking, I was like, oh yeah, we do that all the time. And then I'm like, oh, we haven't done like a fundraising training in quite a while. So I think we'll add that to a monthly email. I see Jillian's like taking a note in the corner there. Yeah, we have done them in the past, but somehow it's been a hot minute. So we'll add that in, especially considering the global situation. We should have some small grants coming up. It always depends on our funding, which is a little bit rough at the moment. But we're just waiting on confirmation from a donor. So keep an eye out for some small grants. As you heard from Hevlin, we've had them in the past and we try to offer them at least once a year. But it is funding dependent. But definitely on the trainings thing, we can put those back into the rotation because yeah, I was gonna be like, we just did one, and I was like, no, that was like multiple years ago. So thanks for the tip. We'll put it. Stay tuned on both accounts, I guess is the answer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Erin, for the great answer. I'm sure even all of us will be looking forward to the trainings. Of obviously they are quite important, for young people. Yeah. Gillian, do you see any other hands for some questions?
No, I don't see any other hands. If anyone wants to put it in the chat as well, you're welcome to do that if it's easier. Oh, okay. I see Kingsley. Please go ahead, ask your question. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you. Okay.
Okay, my name is Kinsley Ahokan. I am the head of Explosive Ordnance and Disposal Unit, CBRNE, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, here in Abuja. I want to sincerely appreciate the organizers of this program, especially Erin and the other co-facilitators. Your program is quite insightful and educative. Though I've been following Erin now through her distant monthly newsletters to be abreast of what Mark is doing currently all over the world. Mine is not really a question. I just want to make a contribution. My contribution is based on empowering you through practical involvement. You see, youth, they are not just an agent of change. We believe that we need to empower them in the technical and the operational aspect of mine action, such as risk education. Or you see, after the end of a conflict, or there is this possibility that people will return back to their native lands. In as much as there is no capital or an intervention has not been done with respect to clearance, there is a way the natives can coexist with these mines. If you have the adequate information, the adequate knowledge, you will go back and still live within with the presence of these mines before they can be cleared. That's the essence of risk education, telling the people the right habits or the right attitude to live in the presence of these mines, in the presence of these explosive ordinances. Or, for instance, telling them the basic steps. If you see something, say something. If you see a suspicious object, don't move. Retrace your step and contact the nearest authority. These kind of messages, they will go a long way in saving people's life and preserve the community. Not just about awareness. You can equally devise so many other methods of passing your message. You can do billboards, you can do leaflets, you can equally devote some sections in the local media in order for you to sensitize the people about the dangers inherent with the presence of these explosive ordinances. Then another important issue there is capacity building and knowledge exchange. If you can be able, because in mine action there are 5 pillars of mine action: risk education, advocacy, stockpile, demolition, victim assistance. Or one person or a few group of people cannot do it. You need to empower people, especially the youth. The youth, just like I've said before, they are the agents of change. They are vibrant. They have high mobility rates. They can move from one location to the other. You need to empower them. You need to transfer the technical knowledges to them, get them involved in technical capacities like non-technical survey or mapping, and so on and so forth. For instance, with what we are doing here, I was able to train more than 150 officers. Just like I told you before, I am from the paramilitary sector. I trained them in the northeast Nigeria, where we are having this conflict with the Nigerian government and the Boko Harams. So a lot of people have been displaced. So right now, my training stopped October last year. From October last year to this moment, we've been able to reach more than 20,000 people in our risk education. So what am I trying to say here is that capacity building is quite essential. I mean, the emphasis, it cannot be overemphasized. We need to devote energy in capacity building and empowering you through technical knowledge. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We only have 2 minutes left, so I don't see any hands up right now. So I have a quick question just for all the speakers to kind of share your final thoughts. So my question is, what do you want everybody here at the webinar to really walk away with today? Like, what do you want your most important final message for everyone here to take away from this webinar? And I'll ask all the speakers that, and maybe you can answer in order of how you spoke. Thank you.
Sorry, I just realized order of spoke would be me first. I think the most important thing I'd like people to take away from this is that even though sort of Mind Action is facing some of its biggest challenges right now, there is a fantastic group of young people that are taking the field forward with passion and expertise. So I think we heard that youth programming is about hope and things. So I think that's sort of what I'd like you all to take away. And Dawood, I see your question in the chat, and I will type a response.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just basically reemphasizing the point that we all have a role to play in whatever capacity we can all contribute. So whatever you think of that can assist, don't doubt yourself, go for it, because yeah, a land-mine free world, I believe, is possible if we all play our part. Thank you.
And I would like to ask you to not give up. The path we have chosen is very challenging, and sometimes it seems impossible, but it is not. So if we stand together, our voice will be heard. So keep up with the incredible work you have been doing. We have the hope and the energy to fight up to a better world. So let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you so much, Erin, Evelyn, Noku, for sparing your time, and also even for taking your time to prepare your presentations, which you have shared with us today. I'm sure each and everyone who has attended this webinar has taken one or two things which they're going to also, use in their work. And also it's important, like what you have said, don't give up, and we need, to carry on. The field is big, so you need to touch, somewhere, and you're going also to, play your part in this work. And we would like to appreciate everyone who has managed to attend, and we do appreciate your time to come and attend this important webinar. And thanks so much, Julian, for the support to make this happen. And thanks so much, Minds Action Canada, for giving this space to make sure that young people can come and learn and also share this important information, which is critical towards a mind-free world. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and it's bye-bye from my end. Thank you so much. Take care.